Andrew Martin, sheep and wool producer from Tambo. We've got about 25,000 acres of Downs country with about 2,500 acres of pulled gidgee country up in the back end of the place. We're fourth generation grazier, got some cattle as well.
And in your spare time, the local mare?
And in my spare time, the local mare, by about 5 weeks.
You must sense very keenly the anxiety and the uncertainty that has been created by these proposed changes to Queensland's vegetation management laws.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming farcical. Really, it's becoming farcical for a couple of reasons. They've politicised something that nature created, and I'll get back to that. But the fact that we can expect every time there's a change of government, a complete change of vegetation management laws, are frightening the daylights out of the banks. It's restricting investment in the extreme in areas that need some sort of vegetation management. To get back to the reasons for vegetation management, and people seem to have gotten away from the reasons for it, all this was built on fire, flood and drought. Now, after the Second World War, we virtually removed fire from the landscape in the early 50s with all the equipment that came back from fighting the Second World War. We removed fire from the landscape. And the trees in areas that grew trees, the trees said to themselves, well, where's the fire? We better grow on until the fire comes. And so there was a great proliferation of growth. And if you go to untreated areas of timber now, you can see the stuff that came up in the 1950s, you can see the stuff that was there before the 1950s, and you can see the stuff that's coming up in the 2000s. Now, when we removed fire from the landscape, the trees took over. We didn't want to reintroduce fire because they'd be uncontrollable, and there were all sorts of issues around fire. And the trees got so bad that we used machinery to get it back to the stage that it was before we removed fire from the landscape. Now, there are still areas of virgin timber, and I understand the arguments around overdoing the virgin timber thing. But really, all we're doing is managing the vegetation with machinery versus managing it with fire. And they've politicised that, and they've brought the banks in on the deal, they've brought the agents in on the deal, and the business community has absolutely no confidence in the politicisation of something that was created by nature.